We live in a shallow world. A bold statement, I know, but bear with me. Nowadays, every desire that you have can be catered to by pretty much a simple click or swipe. We rarely have to wait or put real effort into something, as we are surrounded by sheer abundance of pretty much everything. I feel like we as a collective are less and less inclined towards building real, deep and meaningful relationships, as there quickly is the fear of missing something or someone. I also see that a lot of people around me really struggle to attach themselves to someone else, to go into a relationship, because they fear that they might find someone else quickly. And of course, this fear, this feeling is catered to by our instant gratification world and by social media. Personally, I feel that having deep and meaningful relationships is a key pillar of a happy and fulfilled life. The relationships that I have in my life, they fill me up with a sense of purpose, with joy and a meaning in life. And when I talk about the term relationship, I truly mean like every single aspect of relationships, be that romantic relationships, relationships to your friends, to your family, or even the relationship that you have to yourself. I try to build meaningful and deep relationships with the people that I love. That doesn't mean that every relationship that I have is super deep or perfect. That is far from the truth. However, step by step, I've tried to improve them gradually. This is very important for me to state this at the beginning of this video. I am by no means an expert on relationships. I do not claim to be, and I don't claim to be perfect in any way, shape or form. This is never my intention with making these videos. However, this is a topic that to me is super important, and I want to learn about it as much as possible because it is super valuable information. So maybe you can see this video more like a collection of my own thoughts on this subject that I want to share with you guys, and also want to start a conversation of maybe your own experiences, your own thoughts that I would invite you to share with me and with everybody else in the comments, so we can get a nice conversation going. I think why this topic is a topic that maybe from time to time I do get asked questions about is probably because of the romantic relationship that I'm in. I just got married in the summer to my wife after over 10 years of relationship, and we have worked a ton over those years to building a truly deep and meaningful relationship that apparently people around us, or at least some people, find inspiring or they want to know more about. When I talk to people about relationship or the relationship that I am, sometimes I get comments like, "Oh, you're so lucky that you found the person that you love, that you are with, and that it works out so fine for you." I'm not gonna deny that there is a part of luck, fate, or whatever you want to call it, that makes up a good fitting relationship. But I always come back with that a relationship this good is the result of years of continuous work towards this relationship, towards this goal of a harmonious, good relationship. So yes, there is an element of luck or whatever you want to call it, but I would probably argue the bigger chunk is the element of work and building this good relationship. Only think about it. We've been together since we were teenagers, and since then we have become entirely different people. Now the chances or the probability that you still like every single person that you become over the stretch of time is probably very small, because you change very drastically over the course of 10 years, especially when you're a young adult. So naturally, because of this, I from time to time get asked questions on my thoughts and our principles and how we handle certain things. And it is a topic that is very interesting to me, that I love to learn about, that I love to chat about with people, with my wife, whoever. And since you maybe know this channel, I am exploring the aspect of slow living more and more, and implementing slow living routines into my daily life. And the more I think about it, the more I'm convinced that embracing certain elements of a slower kind of lifestyle, of slow living, that it actually impacts your relationship, the quality of your relationship, a lot. Slow living is in general a more intentional approach to life, where you think about what you want in your life and then you act accordingly. And of course, this also applies to relationships. But I think that slow living goes beyond like individual practices, everyday practices that you do, and it can reach beyond that into relationships. So in this video, I want to share with you some thoughts on how I approach building meaningful relationships, and how I see that living a slow life can positively impact those relationships. Slow living reduces the overall stress and chaos in my everyday life. And if I am in a less stressed state of mind, I am a generally better person overall, because then I don't feel like I have to rush anywhere, or that I can't spend a certain amount of time on an activity or with a certain person. I think everybody can agree that if you're stressed, you're usually not the person that you would generally like to be. You maybe are less patient, a little bit more aggravated, and you certainly don't always react the way that you would, in hindsight, would like to have reacted. So slowing down can contribute to more patient and understanding interactions, preventing unnecessary conflicts, and overall promoting harmonious, good relationships. I also believe that slowing down cultivates patience, which is a crucial element in any relationship. I thought about, what do you need in order to have good relationships? And I came up with a list of 4 key ingredients that came up to my mind, but this list is probably not finished. So you can probably add 1 or 2 extra points on there on your own. I believe that in order to have a good relationship, you firstly need to know what you want, so you can align your preferences with your actions. Second, you need to work on yourself, because that leads to making yourself valuable for any relationship. And then the 4th point, which is also super important, is making an effort in a relationship. So I believe that in order to build like truly deep and meaningful relationships, working on yourself, like truly working on yourself, is crucial. It is a key element, because then you know who you truly are, what you like, what you don't like, what you want, what you expect of somebody else, how you tick under certain circumstances, in which situations maybe you get stressed out, and how you react to stress, why you do certain things, and why you act a certain way. I believe that especially in romantic relationships, being aware of your personal patterns and why you do certain things the way you do them is super important, as it ties into the concept of attachment styles. This is a concept that my wife recently brought up to me, and it is probably one of the best, or one of the most important pieces of information for you to grow healthy and long-lasting relationships. I have to be honest, I've never heard of this before she brought it up, but it was an absolute eye-opener. And I would encourage you to maybe read up about it, so you can like analyze your own attachment style, the way other people work. And if you find that interesting, I will link a a blog post or a article in the description. Maybe give that a read. I found it super interesting myself. In the end, building relationships is, of course, knowing about who you are, how you tick, and what you want, but also understanding the other person, how the other person reacts in certain situations, what drives the other person, and how you can match those different frequencies and energies. So knowing about those different attachment types will be a super useful tool that you can use for understanding your relationships in a better way. I also believe that knowing what you truly want and vice versa, knowing what you don't want, is also super important. In general, in everyday life, but also especially when it comes to relationships. And here I think slowing down is a great help, because it allows you to take a moment and ask yourself those questions and give your thoughts some room to breathe, and not being in a rush to have to hurry to the next appointment or the next date maybe, but actually giving your mind some time to wander and figure out those questions. And I believe that a lot of people don't really do this. I actually know many people that live a completely different kind of lifestyle from what they at least communicate to me what they would like to live, and that of course also reflects in the relationships. I know people that tell me that they don't like having too many social interactions, but I see them meeting friends every single day of the week, sometimes even multiple friends after each other. So there's a discrepancy there from the things that they want or would want and the things that they do. And for me, it's kind of the same. If I have too many social interactions in a week, I don't feel that good. I cannot value each interaction as much as I would if I only would have a handful of interactions a week on which I could concentrate, focus, and put my energy into. And I think in the end, that kind of situation is a lose-lose situation for everybody, because I cannot give the other person what he or she deserves, because I am not fully comfortable or present, or maybe I'm stressed out, and it is not a good experience for me, and it is not a good experience or optimal experience for them. So if I would have just stuck to the things that I know make me feel good and acted accordingly, this wouldn't have happened. I find it very important to have a healthy balance of my personal priorities. It is almost an art form to find the perfect equilibrium of personal pursuits, work, your relationships, and everything in between. As an example, for me, I work 4 days a week. I am very passionate about training, about working out, training jiu-jitsu. I have a small garden and I have a lot of other small hobbies. But I also have a wife and I have friends to be around and that I want to build a relationship with. So when planning my days, especially my free days, I'm paying very close attention how and who I want to spend time with. Because when I meet somebody, I want to be present with them. I don't want to be distracted. I don't want to be stressed or in a hurry. So I want to plan this with intention. And of course, planning doesn't mean that there is no room for being spontaneous. Absolutely there is. But if I can plan it a little bit, it just helps me a lot. And also when I am then meeting somebody and I am in a good state of mind, I am not stressed, I'm not in a hurry, I can be super present, I can listen, I can be a good conversation partner and be a better person to be around. Because in the end, I appreciate the time that the other person is giving me, and of course I am also giving time to the other person. So it would be a shame to waste that time and not to be mindful of that time. And I think slow living encourages more intimate and meaningful interactions rather than shallow and superficial ones. And I think by that you can create relationships that have a greater sense of trust, a better sense of friendship, and an overall sense of security. And then once you have found out those personal preferences of yours, you have to communicate them, because surprise, nobody can read your mind, and you cannot read the mind of others, so you have to ask questions. And here, if you have a slower kind of pace in general, you have much more room to communicate and articulate what those preferences and thoughts might be, because there is time for that. You don't have to rush anywhere. You can just take the couple of minutes to gather your thoughts and then express them towards somebody else. So in the end, you can communicate your feelings and emotions better. And by doing that, you can avoid misunderstandings. A final aspect on how slow living positively impacts good relationships is that you can savor the time that you spend together on a whole different level. As an example, my wife and I, we have a couple of nights a week, we have a media-free evening where we don't watch any YouTube videos. We spend as little time on our phones as possible, and we do offline activities. We cook together, maybe we have a good conversation with interesting topics or thoughts that we recently had. Usually my wife brings up much more thoughts and conversation points than me, but that always gives me a lot to think about afterwards. And having those very simple evenings where nothing crazy is happening, we have time to actually talk to each other. Even after 10 years, I still can learn new things about my wife, and she can learn new things about me. But if you only do super crazy stuff, or you numb your mind with social media, watching TV, stuff like that, you never have a good conversation, and you never appreciate just simply having a good conversation. For a lot of people, that is too boring. They need to have additional stimulus, additional activities to keep it fun and interesting. But if you slow down a little bit and just relax, you can realize that you don't need that. When you slow down, you can savor the very simple moments in life. Everything can be beautiful and has beauty in it. But if you only rush through everything, you never get a chance to take a breath and realize what is so beautiful and so nice around you. And a simple conversation can be so interesting and so meaningful, but only if you have the time and mental capacity. I know I talked a lot in this video. These are simply some thoughts and ideas concerning relationships. And it wouldn't be honest of me to say that I've never screwed up a relationship or friendship, or that every relationship that I have is super deep and meaningful. That is not the case. I'm still learning, I'm still exploring, and I'm trying my best. And this is why I would love your feedback, your experiences, your inputs. Please feel free to share those in the comments down below and get a conversation going. And of course, I'm not there yet where I would like to be, both in regards of slow living or also in relationships, but I'm getting there step by step. Feel free to come along on my journey if you feel like it. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you, and see you soon. Bye-bye.